Hello and welcome to the Fools Rush In STFC podcast for our weekly roundup of everything going on at SM1. And as you can see, we have a fairly full house. Almost everyone is able to attend for the first time in a long time. So starting as you appear on the screen, good evening, Rich.
Evening, 5E, how are you?
Very well, thank you. We've also got the master of the data analysis, the founder of the Ned Report. How are you, pal?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good, thanks, mate.
And always happy. Look at his little smiley face. Warren's with us tonight as well.
Evening, gents.
And, well, Kieran's back. That can only spell trouble for the rest of us. Evening,
Don't know what you're on about.
Just keeping a lid on everything and making sure all of my bases are covered. Woody's here, keeping an eye on things as well.
Evening.
And dare I say, the man who, and I quote from Saturday night, I am the real star of the podcast. Christian's with us as well.
Did I say that? Sorry.
Apparently so, yes.
You said you were the main guy, to be fair to someone.
Before then asking what the podcast was called.
Yeah. Then go, what's it called? Did you try to YouTube search it? But there we go.
Move on.
It's good to have you back as well, pal. Listen, most, if not all of you, were able to be in attendance. I know Woody's possibly the only one.
No, I wasn't there.
Oh, Warren, not either. So plenty of content. Kieran, I want to start with you because I understand you had plenty to say on the 2-2 draw at the weekend. So you are probably the best place to start. That's it, Woody. Get comfy.
Don't know really where to start with it. I think we started well for the first half an hour or so, and then we sort of let Rochdale back into it, and then when we hit the Gladwin goal, it was sort of, because Rochdale had no chances until the second half. But I'd say in the first half hour we were on top of them. We should have capitalised in that. We did slightly over that mark when they just looked like to be getting it back into it. We were giving them a foothold into it. But we didn't seem to do a lot then lead up to half time. And I don't think it was the best ones. I just think it was our typical struggling at home performance.
And you were particularly critical in our WhatsApp group of the performance and one or two players, but then you were also, you seemed to do your perfect impression of me, because as soon as it got to 2-2, it was, we're going to win this, lads.
Well, we did. We looked like in stoppage time, we looked like we were going to win it. And it's always the thing that's frustrated me with every Swindon team seemingly throughout the years. You've got to be able to do this to play for Swindon. You're doing mediocre in the game. You're probably behind, maybe a little bit unfairly, because Rochdale deserved their equaliser from our poor play. The second one was, again, not the best, but I wouldn't say on the basis of the play of the whole match they deserved it. But then Johnny Williams scores with 3 minutes to go. We start playing with urgency. We start looking like we're going to go and score 1 or 2 more goals. We didn't, but I don't know. I hate it when we just leave it too little too late to do it. And I think Williams came on and changed the game. I think we brought him on too late. I know, but I also think we took the wrong forward off out of the 2 that we had. Sort of that were more forward players. I think we should have taken Simpson off rather than McCurdy. I think McCurdy was having the better of the chances, was getting in better positions, looked more lively. Simpson just wasn't doing a lot and didn't do a lot all game, sort of the game past him. And I think that was highlighted when he had probably a good chance we'd connected with it. If he'd got it on target, it probably would have got in, but completely missed the ball.
And Rich, obviously you've attended the most games out of all of us here. What was your perspective on what you saw against, you'd been very full of praise for the couple of performances before that game.
Yeah, I think it was just a lack of clinical chances that we had in the first half. I think possibly we could have maybe taken advantage, maybe 1 or 2 more. McCurdy had a couple of great efforts in the first half. Not an awful lot more he could have done, really. I think with regards to Simpson, I think he needs to start be more consistent in the positions that he's getting in, because he is getting into some good positions, but I think it was more of him holding the ball up on Saturday rather than him actually getting into the positions in order to score. I still think that partnership of Simpson and McCurdy will work, and I do think it needs to take time, and I hopefully we'll get there and they'll be able to share the goals between them. But again, I think that's definitely definitely something that will progress in the next couple of games. Obviously, it's a bit shame that we couldn't replicate our great away records to our home again. I don't get what it is, whether or not it's the pitches that we're playing on going away. I mean, we are playing on some really shitty pitches when we go away. I mean, if you look at Bristol Rovers, if you look at Forest Green, we come back to the county ground. It's a great pitch, bigger than some of the pitches that we've played on. Is that a factor? Don't know. Surely that should be an advantage to us. I don't know what it is. I did question a couple of the substitutions as well on Saturday as well. Again, like Kieran said, I thought Williams probably should have come on quicker, more sooner, and I think he's got to start on Tuesday. But Mitchell Lawson, I'm not entirely sure what he offers yet. I don't know what he quite offers to the team. But yeah, and I think he probably, I don't know. I don't know what it is at home. It's just one of those things at home at the moment. So fingers crossed we can get a result tomorrow, and hopefully we can finally get that home win at Bradford, because it is coming. And I just think it's a matter of time now.
And Ned, you were also there. Was a draw a fair result?
Was it? I guess it probably was. I did some feedback on the Low Stranger, and I said on there, like, I don't see what everyone else's positive vibes from that game was, because I think me and Christian must have watched a different game. I mean, Kieran's view of the first half is completely different to mine. I mean, the first 10 minutes, we barely touched the ball. They were all over us for 10 minutes without looking dangerous. But we didn't turn up in that first half. I mean, it was all sleepy stuff. It was all slow. Hardly get out of the blocks. As I said, the first 10 minutes, we barely touched the ball. But McCurdy was missing in that first half, apart from the one or two glimpses. I mean, me and Christian was talking about like how he's done nothing in this game, and until we did that sort of backward flick for the goal. Would you agree, Christian? I honestly don't see where everyone was saying about how good we were in that first half, because it was lackluster. It was rubbish. I mean, if you compare that to either half of the Forest Green game, it was awful. I mean, we showed glimpses here and there, but we lacked, as I keep saying, pod after pod, we lacked intensity. That first half was so slow. It's that typical game when you've been out on the Saturday and then you play Sunday League the next day and you've got a bit of a hangover, and it's sort of, you're playing, but you're just not quite, it's not quite happening for you. But yeah.
One thing I'll just say on that, Ned, obviously with regards to the two away games that we've just recently had, we've turned up more in the second half than we have in the first half. Honestly, though, I thought we were okay. First half wasn't fantastic, but we were on top. In the second half, we completely dropped up. I said to a couple of people I would rather go in at halftime 0-0, because then at least we've got something to play for in the second half. And I believe that's probably the philosophy that Garner's starting to get. When we're 1-0 up, he likes to just park the bus a little bit, and he's got nothing to play for in the second half. We completely dropped off. Our defense just, I don't know what happened. Crinchlow, Odomeo, Conroy, just a lack of communication, especially for the second goal. I don't know what it was, but
I mean, that second half was particularly bad. It was particularly bad. As you say, I mean, there was about 3 or 4 defenders guilty of ball watching, certainly for that second goal. It was awful.
AK, Crinchlow and Conroy were. I mean, they're a fantastic defense, but when they switch off like that and they don't know what to do, then that causes trouble.
Well,
I mean, we again, sorry to refer, I was sitting next to Christian, as you can tell. And we had a conversation saying about, 60 minutes. We need to bring on, a bit of pace. Williams, bring on Kessler Hayden. We needed it 60 minutes. That didn't happen till 70 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. So it was 10 minutes late, in our opinion. We was sort of reading the game that way. But I mean, Rochdale weren't a good team. And if we pressed high, if we had the intensity of a last 20 minutes of a standard away game, we would have been 3-0 up by 30, 40 minutes. And then the game would have been over. But I don't know, it just didn't turn up.
Well,
didn't happen.
Let's bring Christian in at this point then, because he was back at the county ground as well on Saturday. How did you find the game?
Yeah, pretty much what the others have said. I think you've slightly misunderstood what I said there, because I thought first half we were okay. It was a lazy performance. It was Labour, but they didn't have to do anything else because Rochdale weren't really interested. I don't know what Rochdale had come for, a draw or whatever, but they weren't there to try and win a game of football. McCurdy was all right first half. He was quite lively. He was getting in the pocket and picking up balls and trying his best. Now, second half, the problem is second half, fucking pain. Couldn't be asked. McCurdy drifted out of the game. Gladwin didn't see enough of the ball because he was finding pockets of space, but the ball wasn't getting to him. It was a very lazy, laboured second half. We got what we got what we deserved. 2-2 was about fair, and hopefully they'll learn a lesson. But they've got to do something about this home hoodoo, because it's not just this season. It's been going on about 4 or 5 years now. Even when we won the league, we were still, or won the league by default, we were still losing stupid games like 3-1 at home to Forest Green. And I think Barnet put 5 past us to the counter and everything. There's something wrong with that ground at the moment. And the players, I don't care if it messes up the pitch or whatever, that's their home ground. And they need to get on that pitch and be working on drills and knowing, because there's always been historically like a bit of a bump and not a hill, but at the Stratton Bank end, there's bits where they're a little bit wet, where there's the drainage, the springs. There are little bits to that pitch that need. It's a very good pitch, but it's not amazing. So yeah, they need to get on that pitch really and work out what they're doing away from home that they can be doing at home. It's a wide pitch, use the width of it, but I don't know what else to say, really.
No, I mean, that's a pretty fair assessment. Woody, if I can bring you in on that point, I know particularly professional football teams that, they go to training grounds to avoid ruining the pitch. But does Christian have a point with the fact that for a number of years now, Swindon haven't been great at home? Does this squad need to spend some time just on the county ground pitch, knowing every single blade of grass and what they're going to be doing on it?
Yeah, I would agree actually to a certain extent, just not before the 31st of October. But it is a good point, or the other option is do similar to, because if you go, I think they're at Beaversbrook at the moment training. The surface is nowhere near similar. The pitches aren't the same size up there, and even small changes like that. So even if they're not training on the pitch, make the pitch similar and do your tactical do your tactical sixes and all that kind of stuff. Do that on a pitch the same size as the county ground. But then I think the only thing I would say to that is obviously we play on a different ground away every time. We don't play on the same ground away every time. Sure. So it sounds, I liked Christian's word of hoodoo, because it generally does feel like it is just some awkward feeling the moment they walk through that player's entrance in the Arkle stand. They walk through it and then all of a sudden they just, it's just not the same. But the thing is, we have won at home this season. So yeah, okay, we've got this hoodoo, but to say that we can't win at home is, we have done this season. So it's, I just think, if we be realistic and we look at Rochdale, I mean, I was listening to it on the on the iFollow radio thing, And even their commentator, because it's their commentary, even their commentators sounded really surprised, like because they thought we were going to spank them. And I think to be fair, I think a lot of us did, you know, because we thought this would be the game that we would win convincingly at home. But yeah, Christian's right in terms of there are certain areas of the pitch, etc., etc. So yeah, it wouldn't do him any harm to train on that pitch. I know Cassidy's massively against it, so or was massively against it. He's back now, isn't he, Cassidy? Yeah, he is back now. Yeah, so he used to be massively against it, which is probably why they didn't. And the drainage situation has started to change now because I think they had some drainage done over the summer. But it's yeah, I think to be fair, it was a painful listen. I don't think the home pitch is an excuse for Saturday. I think the home crowd or the home ground or the hoodoo. I just generally think Rochdale came with a plan to avoid losing, and they just so happened to get us, you know, get 2 goals past us, and we didn't have enough in the bank to offer. The one thing I do feel that we could take out of it is maybe the fact that we had the 5 players away last time and all that. It just goes to show that yes, the players that stepped in whilst we had the absences, you know, they were showing because they wanted a first team place, and maybe they've now shown why they weren't in the first team in the first place. You know, like I was quite surprised that Kesler Hayden came on so late. You know, like even at 1-0 up, I probably still would have brought him on just to make sure that we saw the game off. Because yes, if we weren't all over him in the first half, but we finished the game with 64% possession, we must have had a lot of the ball and just done nothing with it. And that's what's got to stop. And that's not a home hoodoo thing. That's just got to stop. Is it when you go away, you're playing against teams that open up because they don't want to play defensive on their home pitch. Nobody wants to play defensive on their home pitch. So I generally think that's why we've always done well away. Richie Wellen sets up teams like that, etc. So yeah, it's but it does feel like there's something. I do agree with the guys.
So Warren, looking at the wider picture, there's clearly a fair amount of frustration overriding feeling with the draw, and maybe not so much with the draw, but the performance leading to the point, shall we say. When you look at the league table, currently sitting in 6th, 6 points off Forest Green, who are top, 2 points above the dotted line. It's not all terrible, is it?
No, definitely not. We just seem to really struggle, like Woody was saying. I think it's all down to like the impetus is on us to create something in a game when we're at home, and we really struggle with that. And I think the players with the big crowds that we've had at the start of the season, maybe they just play it a little bit safe instead of playing that forward pass. Maybe it's a bit sideways, and we just keep the ball, we hold the ball and hope to open something up. Like you say, away from home, teams do come at you because they're trying to entertain their home crowd, and then space is open and we counter, and that's how we beat teams. But at this point of the season, when we were all talking at the start, if we would have all snapped your hand off, wouldn't we, to be where we are at this moment in time in the league. So I don't think there's no doom and gloom. It will change. I think we've got to be more attacking at home, maybe get rid of the 3 centre halves. Most teams come and play one up top end of the pitch. Do we really need 3 centre halves there? Get an extra midfielder or an extra forward thinking player up at the top end of the pitch. In my opinion, if he's fit at the moment, he's got to play Johnny Williams. He is a cut above in this league. I was listening to Ian Holloway on Quest, and he was saying, you know what I mean, he didn't really play for Wales in these international breaks. So surely he come back Monday or Tuesday because they played the Monday night. Surely 3 days is enough. And I understand Ghana was loyal to the players that have done well, but at home, when you've got to break down a team that are difficult, you've got to have your most creative player on the pitch. And Johnny Williams is our most creative player by a long way. And I think he's got to start games and he's got to play a lot of minutes. They keep going on about, oh, is he fit enough? Is he going to be injured? We're not going to know until you chuck him in and get him playing a load of games, because if we're going to be at this top end of the league, we need players like him to be playing regularly, and that's what it's got to be.
I get Garner wants to try and he's probably trying to protect Williams because of his injury record.
Yeah.
And I get that. But yeah, like you say, I mean, if you don't, if you don't try starting him, you're never going to know, are you? So
stick him in that 10 position, stick him in a luxury role. He doesn't need to do a lot of tracking back, does he? Just get him on the ball and get him doing what he needs to do.
I think as well.
It's
so
almost
adaptable.
a balancing act between, is it better that he plays 90 minutes 1 in 2 or 20 minutes every game?
For me, I'd want him playing 90 minutes because that's when you're going to see the most of him. 20 minutes, he'll come on one game and do something, and then he'll come on the next and might not create enough. But he could win us a game. And I don't understand when we're like this game, I would have ditched that. I've been positive about the back three, but at home, when we're playing against teams that we know are just going to sit in a block, we don't need 5 at the back or 3 centre halves. There's one striker. Let the 2 centre halves deal with that striker and get us some more creative players at the top end of the pitch and make them defend, because we just pass the ball passively sideways. You know what I mean? And it was not good enough, was it?
And sorry, Woody, I think I jumped in when you were going to add something in there as well.
No, I'll let Christian speak because he's probably picked up on the same thing I did. But...
Go on, Christian.
No, I doubt I have. I don't think I've got a popular opinion here, but I would have Williams probably playing 20, 25 minutes every week, because I've seen him start games and he plays in that position where you can become a little bit complacent and become a bit lazy. I would rather see him just after half time, but only 10 minutes after half time, come on and change the game if he needs to. So I would use him sparingly, but he would be more of an impact sub.
Okay. So it's a fair comment. Did you want to jump in on that one as well, Woody, before we move on?
Yeah, it was almost a complete opposite, actually. But the only reason I say that is from a business point of view. Johnny Williams would be the highest paid player at the club at the moment. So why are we wasting playing him small amount of game time when he's only, I don't know how many goals that was his first goal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and he is a goal scorer regardless of where he plays. He's a goal scorer. So yeah, if we're going to use him sparingly, then he needs to be playing more than the last 20 minutes. We're talking a half-time substitution, if anything. But yeah, I think he's got to start now. And like I say, that bring like that. I was reflecting a bit on Rich's point about protecting him. Again, you're the highest paid player at the club. You don't protect the highest paid player at the club by not playing him. You play him and make him earn his money. You know, so because at the moment he's shopping in Sainsbury's and can't. So let's downgrade.
We'll have this conversation if he gets injured, and we'll go, yeah, it should have been, yeah, we should have protected him. But for now, he needs to play.
Now he's injured.
But it's the point.
He's dropped 2 divisions as well. You've got to remember that he's dropped 2 divisions, and
it's the point.
Not like he played poorly at Cardiff either. So
it's the point that Warren made as well about the fact that, like, where we've got the back three, you know, that's, do we need a back three at home? Yes, they do normally work quite well together, but in the summer we recruited about 25 million attacking midfielders. So like, why aren't we overloading up top? You know, as opposed to sticking with the back three. I don't know whether it's because he's unsure of who to drop if he goes to a 2. We probably all have our opinions on who he should drop, but maybe that's why. But as long as Critcho the Predator doesn't get dropped, I don't care.
No, he gives the balance, but it's just his.
Makes one of the biggest mistakes at the weekend, but don't want to be dropped. It's literally the reason for that first goal.
If he didn't make mistakes, mate, he wouldn't be at Swindon in League 2.
That's true.
To paraphrase Christian slightly, I believe he used the term lazy. A lazy second half. Well, I'm hoping it's not going to be a lazy second half to this podcast, because Kieran has very subtly changed his background for the next topic. And it was the news the other day that Simon Cox is finally hanging up his boots. Obviously a striker who will have a lot of affection from Swindon fans for a long time for many a good performance and many a spectacular goal. Kieran, as you've changed it, do you want to go first? And when I asked you all basically think of memories of Cox in a Swindon shirt, what was the first one that came to mind for you?
I'm glad I got to go first, but I'm going pretty much what everyone's going to have gone for, at least to chuck in there. That Walsall goal is one of the best goals I think I've seen at the county grounds. It was, and it's one of those he meant as well, but it's just what he had in his locker. Like, he was a fantastic player. He's probably one of my first sort of favourite players, because he's around the time just I started going.
Yep.
Like, he was great. But also, I can remember him scoring against Fenerbahce in a pre-season friendly. And Fenerbahce, but I think it's the audacity of the goal, the fact we're there in our training kit, it's got numbers printed on the front. I don't even know if they had them printed on the back, to be honest. And he's gone and hit that goal against Fenerbahce in a 1-1 draw against them. And it wasn't a bad Fenerbahce side. It wasn't their first year at a time, but had some good players in there. It was still quite decent for them. But I think he's just a natural goal scorer, and he's one of those strikers, like, if you could find another him, which I think we did do him once, sort of a Charlie Austin, but he would just get you a goal. He'd get you a spectacular goal, but he'll get you those goals where he's poking a goal in from 2 yards out and just being in those positions. He's just a natural, proper old school centre forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as well, he's a bit of a character. Like, I remember Tranmere at home as well. In our first game of the season one year, I think we scored the first goal to go 1-0 up. Maybe it'd been a bit risky. They've gone and done like that. He's gone and got everyone to do the rowing boat celebration, which I think was talked about for weeks on Soccer and stuff after, which only went well because I think we beat them about 3-0 that game. They've had to throw back on our face. But yeah, he's a great player. And I was gutted when he left to go to West Brom, but it was one of those ones that was always going to be the way for us. He sort of was always going to leave and go on to bigger and better things. Believe he played for Ireland at one point.
No, and Rich, obviously, when we get round to talking to the likes of Christian and Craig when he's on, and they go back to some real greats that have played for Swindon. Now, obviously, we never got high up in the ladder having the likes of Cox in the team, obviously, but for people like us, we've had Cox, we've had Austin. I mean, I started going towards the end of Parkin's time. For you, where does Cox rate in the strikers you've seen?
In the strikers that I've seen, I think only Austin's better than him. I think he's the second best. It's between him and Austin. I think if you had Cox in that team that Austin was in, with Austin and Payne, if he had Cox in that team, I think with the sort of wingers and the services getting at the time, with your likes of Danny Ward's in there and stuff, he'd have got us. I think he scored 30 goals in the season. In years we were getting like nearly relegated every year or sitting in the mid-table. Like with Austin, we were top end of the table. We had Painter's goals to add in it. But like with Austin, with Cox, we were always sort of battling relegation, and we had some truly awful performances. So the amount of goals he got in that side was incredible, and I think I think Austin pips him, just for the pure fact that I think Austin was a better side. And I think his goals were more shared about us. Like Cox was sort of scored both of our goals in those seasons he was there.
Do you agree with that, Rich?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think obviously, there's so many strikers that we've had over the years that have definitely put games in, put goals in the back of the net for us, and Cox is definitely up there, like you said. But also you've got to remember, you've got your Charlie Austins, Billy Painters, Owen Doyles, Jerry Yates, everyone like that. But in terms of loyal players, because I think Cox was with us for a couple of seasons, wasn't he? He was with us for about 2 or 3 seasons, wasn't he? So I think if you look at it from that perspective, for players that have actually progressed with us over a couple of seasons, got that big money move or that better move, put it that way, yeah, for sure, Cox completely deserved everything he got from his time at Swindon to actually move up to the next level. And not only that, obviously he did get an international call up as well. He did play for Ireland. I think he got 9 caps for Ireland, I think.
You should know.
I should know.
I'm sure he's Irish.
I can't remember that far back. It was a good long time.
The same as Jonathan Douglas.
Christian, we alluded to there, obviously, it's a different standard he was playing at, but where would you rate Cox in terms of strikers over the last, say, 2 decades?
No, I mean, the biggest compliment I can pay him is he would probably be in my top 10 of Swindon Town strikers. And I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm going to come out of the 2 decades thing now, Steve. I'm going to go back to when I started, because I struggle to put third and fourth tier strikers, refer to them as legends and that kind of thing. They're not really. They're sort of local heroes. They're not fucking legends. Legend status. The legends are the Don Rogers, the Jan Fjortoffs, the Duncan Shearers, the that kind of striker. So if I had to put him, I put him in the top 10, but he would 100% be below Charlie Austin. And he would also be below Sam Parkin, but not far behind Sam Parkin.
Okay, that's fair enough. And Ned,
I was just gonna say very quickly, Fifey. He got 30 caps for honest. But a lot of them were sub appearances.
Yeah, probably against pub teams as well.
Ned, looking at it from a fan perspective, let's take it away from Cox the player and look at it as a Swindon fan. When you go on to see the career he managed to forge for himself, he played in the Premier League, as we found out. He had many more international caps than Rich believed he did. Do you still, is he one of those players that you kind of look on with a bit of pride to say that, he was here, we were like the starting block for him, really? I mean, obviously came from Reading, but did you watch him go on?
I went to Bristol City.
We won't talk about that. Absolutely. I look on it with pride. I always follow sort of like the ex-Swindon players and how they progress in their careers. And he was really, really good. And, he obviously, we said about he come from Reading. He had his loan spell here. He did really well. I think a few of us were surprised at the time that he'd come back again afterwards. But he was really good. As Christian said, I wouldn't put him up in that legendary status, or he's possibly in my top 6. I'd say possibly up there, but he had a good career. Yeah, I'm very proud of him. I ain't really got much more to say than that, unfortunately.
That's absolutely
not there,
more than adequate.
We're talking if you go even a little bit before my time, like you still wouldn't put him above Alan Mays, would you? Jimmy Quinn.
I haven't seen him play. I didn't see Mays. I didn't see Trollope. I didn't see Don Rogers. But if you include in all of that, then yeah, you're going down to the 10 sort of.
Warren, let's bring you in then on Simon Cox and just we had Kieran say about the Walsall goal and the Fenerbahce. They're the two obvious ones that spring to mind, but it was at times it was just his all-round performance, and you always believed he could score, didn't you?
Yeah, he was just everywhere, wasn't he? He was one of those strikers that would pop up on the wing or pop out, be in the right place at the right time and scored a lot of goals like that. I agree with Christian's point with regards to ranking him where he is, that I didn't see the likes of your Fjortoffs and stuff like that. I was, but for where I go and watch Swindon, I started with the Parkin era, and Cox would definitely be right up there for me with Sam Parkin and with Charlie Austin. And with Kieran's point earlier, scoring 35 goals for us when in a season where we were quite mediocre, that definitely says something about how we created probably not many chances, but he was always in the right position to put them away and probably kept us in the league that season. And yeah, overall, just a very hard-working striker that fans really got on with. And yeah, definitely.
Go on, Christian.
I've just remembered a story actually. We played
past the ball.
Yeah. No, it's pretty boring by my standards actually.
Okay.
We went to we played Wolves in the League Cup a few years ago, and I think it's about a week or two after he'd signed for West Brom for £1 million or whatever it was to West Brom, and he came with us. He was with us, I think, on the minibus, and when we got off at the Swindon end, everyone was like, "Hey, Coxie!" And we went round to the Wolves end because we were sat in their hospitality. And he came in with us, past thousands of Wolves fans, obviously, Not one person recognised him as the bloke who'd signed for for their greatest rivals 2 weeks ago. He said when we got in there, when we got through the stand, because you had to go up into the stand like normal and then through hospitality, so you had to walk through with everyone. It's like, I dodged a bullet there, didn't I?
Woody, I think you're the only one who's not had his chance to have a little say on this topic. So let's bring you in here before we move on to your shining light moments of the episode.
Just a shitly peacock, isn't he? No, I'm joking. I think
he wouldn't be in the top 50. He wouldn't be in the top 50.
In all seriousness, I mean, he was one of those. I think we referred to it a little bit in pre-season about Jose. He was one of those players that kind of got his break at Swindon. He was a Swindon player because if you look at his record wasn't that amazing anywhere else except for us in Southend. So yeah, I think he was a decent player. There's no doubt about it. I was at the game, the London Road, Peterborough 2-2. Peterborough had already gone up, and I think he was chasing Ricky Lambert for top goal scorer. And I think he needed to score one more than Ricky Lambert, and he scored 2 that day. And I'm pretty sure the canoe boat came out at that point as well. But Ricky Lambert scored as well, and I think that's the season that they were joint top scorer, and he broke a record. He broke I think you mentioned earlier, Christian, was it Mays? I think he broke Mays' records for the first post-war X amount of goals in the season. But yeah, I mean, every time he was without a club, it was almost like the fan base wanted him back. But I went to a sponsors evening once as well, and I know there's a story behind it, but him and JP McGovern were supposed to be sat on my table, and for certain reasons, Cox didn't end up sat on my table. So I was a bit gutted really, because I heard he was a little bit of a laugh. But yeah, fair play to him. He's had a good career. I wish him well, and he tried it down in Australia as well. So fair play to him. Good player.
No, absolutely. Let's move on then, and we will stick with you, Mr. Wood, because it is time for your weekly roundup of what's going on at STFC Women's team.
Yeah. So yesterday
you were there.
It was yesterday, isn't it? Monday. Yeah, I was there. I was helping out the first team. They had the county cup against Marlborough. I won't repeat the scoreline, but it was a very, very convincing win. To progress. It was above 10. Let's put it that way. But to
be fair, because every week you've had to say that performances are improving, but they just need that first win. So let's if it was a big win, let's celebrate it. Let's do it properly.
Well, so we did. They won 15-0. Okay. But we've also got to appreciate that Swindon Town's first team are tier 4 and Marlborough tier 7. So it's a bit like non-league playing.
It's a bit like on my 22nd birthday when a League 2 Swindon beat a Premier League Wigan, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, arguably. And there's so yeah, it was convincing. I mean, I had a personal satisfaction because one of my under 16s made her debut, and she scored. So I was well chuffed with that. But yeah, and the development team won 6-3 as well. So my team didn't have a game again because of COVID. So yeah, thanks COVID.
And we are getting ever closer to the big game at the CG.
Yeah, I believe tickets are on sale now, but we can't publicise it because there's something to do with the branding on the tickets. But Exeter, who we're played Plymouth at the weekend, and they had over 1,000 at their game, which is unbelievable for that level crazy, of the women's games. So it'd be lush if we can get anywhere near that figure. To be totally honest. I can see Christian's buzzing to go.
So when you say we're not allowed to publicise it, do you mean the club aren't allowed to publicise it? We can do what we like. We can no obligation.
Yeah, go online and sign, but the club can't officially sell advertise the selling of tickets because of the tickets don't have the Women's National League logo on or something like that. I don't know what's going on. But
absolute farce. Yeah. Anyone watching this, retweet, share it, get the message out there, get as many people to the CG to watch STFC Women as possible. It's Halloween. Is it actual Halloween day as well?
Yeah.
On Halloween. What else are you going to do? It could be a trick or a treat.
I think the supporters club are doing a few bits as well on the day. I read in their newsletter that they're doing a few bits for the kids and all that kind of stuff, like Halloweeny stuff. So yeah, it might be quite a good day. I think it's only £3 for an adult ticket. So
there you go. So yes, please, if you can, please do get down there and support the women on Sunday the 31st. Christian has woken up in time to hear Woody's review of the Fantasy Premier League now.
For fuck's sake.
So I had a dreadful week this week, but still managed to stay top because I don't have Salah in my team. But yeah, the top three haven't changed. Me, Kieran, and Rich are leading the way still. Kieran's closed that gap now. I can't remember what the gap was before, but it's 34 now. Mr. Ben has moved up to 4th. Has gone down. He had a pretty poor week like me. Fifey, you've gone up. You had you had a really bad week, and then you went up. But your week wasn't as bad as Ned, who didn't even break the 20 point mark. I mean, he did technically not even any of his players played a full game. If you go by the average point.
Worst week ever.
And
honestly.
And then Gary, one appearance Johnson, is still the strongest man in the league.
One up, Gary. Come on, Gary.
Yeah.
Gary, who we are desperately hoping. So we in a few weeks, the podcast turns 1 year old. A whole year of us talking crap about Swindon Town. And we are hoping very much so that One Up Gary will be joining us for the birthday episode. Thank you for that review, Woody. Very much appreciated. Christian, if we can keep you awake long enough, let's talk.
What's next? What's next? Abby Mead starts team or what?
Let's talk Sutton.
Cricklade running squad. What? Sutton. What's that?
You don't know anything about running, Christian.
Oh, he ran 3 times on Saturday.
Yes, yes, we must put out a public announcement. Apologies to anyone who saw any members of the podcast out on Saturday. So let's talk about tomorrow night's game, Christian.
What is it? FA Cup or what? Or friendly? What's Sutton United? Sutton United. Fucking hell.
League 2, Christian.
League 2, Sutton United currently on the same points as us. Just below Forest Green, who are also in League 2, Christian.
We'll go there and we'll win 2-0 or 2-1, like we do, and then play like dickheads at the county ground next game.
I love the in-depth analysis that you put into that preview. So there's only one man who could follow that up. Please tell me this week you've prepared a Ned report.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Get comfortable again,
Go on,
but just before we go into that, I just want to say about Saturday. There's one thing that we haven't spoken about.
Don't say nothing about
Sorry, there's many things that I haven't spoken about Saturday, but one thing is Swindon need to sort the fuck out getting into the ground and the half-time and getting beers, because that was ridiculous.
Right, yeah. Forget Sutton.
Oh no, here we go.
Forget Sutton, they are shit. Right, great ball there. No. Right, getting into the ground. I mean, they were very fast and there might be staffing problems, I don't know. That's fine. Half-time, I was bored watching the game, so I went to get a beer at half-time. And the queue was absolutely, like, you wouldn't believe. Why haven't they got the beers already? You know, this is £5 a pop, these pints are £5 a pop. End of the game, this one really baffled me. 9,500 people walking out the ground and the fucking club shot shut.
Yeah, you go.
The club shot shut with 9,500 people walking out the ground.
Well, perhaps they were that bored of the game as well. They decided no one would possibly want to go in.
Christian did.
Christian wanted to.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean the queuing up for the Don Rogers,
and it wasn't as if we went down on half time. It was 42. It was like 42 minutes, and everyone's had the same idea because they must have had the thing. But it wasn't that. There wasn't. You just have the pints already fucking poured. Get them out. It's not hard because you get a pint quicker at Wembley. Like you can't be like, and there's not. You have 2 people serving on it, and it turns to everyone getting in. There was fucking was turnstiles that were literally shut. They need to sort their staffing issues out quickly because it's gonna. Well, if we have a bigger crowd, how are they going to cope with that? It's not the biggest crowd. It's still 4, 5, 6,000 away from capacity.
Or even you have those chilled road back full of bottles of plastic bottles of
like they have at the San Siro.
£4. You know what I mean?
I love the fact, right? I fully appreciate and respect that you're voicing your opinion on a genuine concern of the county ground, but I also love the fact that Kieran has just tried to say we should have the county ground the same as the San Siro. Ned,
No,
now
and that was
hit
because-
that
that
feud
was
and
because-
wound everyone up.
That was because Christian on Saturday said we need those cool backpacks like at the San Siro. We went, oh yes, very similar ground.
Ned, now that you've upset half the panel, let's bring on the Ned report.
Right. Okay. So I did notice that they've only scored 17 goals this season. However, 12 of them at home. So from what I have understood, at home they lay it on the other teams. They press them. They sort of go out all attack, and then and then they sit back when they go away, which is the format for pretty much half the teams that we've played so far this season. I mean,
So
they've scored 8
good at home versus a team good away, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, that is true, but I mean, them away, they shut up shop, and they don't seem to score many goals away from home. But at home, they are very dangerous. They come out and attack. Is what we should bloody do. Do you know what I mean? We should go out and attack. But that's a different Ned report. They've scored. They scored 8 goals in their last 2 home games, which is alarming. 4 and 4. Their last home game loss was on the 28th of August. They lost 2-1 to Oldham, but I mean, they're at home. They look really decent. The 3 players that I like the look of. Ben Goodliff, who I believe is the son of the assistant manager. He's really good in defence. They've got Craig Eastman, he was an Arsenal youngster, and Harry Beautyman, formerly of Peterborough. He's been there for, I think, 4 seasons now, but he was pretty decent. I seem to remember us looking at him a few years back. I'm not sure if people remember that, but I think their top league goal scorers on 2. But they seem to get goals all over the pitch. So, I mean...
Oh, sorry, Ned. Christian wants to just jump in on that point, if he may.
Yeah.
Are they still playing on a 3G
No.
or
No, it got ripped up at the end of the season.
Yeah,
They had to put a new pitch in.
That's even more impressive, isn't it? That they can go from 3G to be performing like that at home. In such a short space of time. Because you think it would give them a distinct advantage, but
can we just take a moment to embrace the fact that Christian's just said something nice about another football team?
It's very true.
He
And
did
it's
say
not
they were
Cheltenham.
shit and small a minute ago, man. So you can balance that out.
Sorry, do
Something
continue,
nothing
Ned.
so late. I mean, what Christian said, that was going to be my next point, considering the change and the loss of revenue as well. How they've, changed over to their playing on grass has been incredible, and fair play to them. With everything in mind, I think Swindon will turn up as they do at away games. I think we are going to win 3-1.
Nice. Rich?
Yeah, it's going to be one of those ones, isn't it? Hopefully we can get a result. I'd like to say that we're going to win. I think we've got to give some respect to Sutton as well. I think obviously where they are currently with they're pretty much where Harrogate were when they first came up. Same with Salford and all that. So yeah, I like to think that we'll go there. I think we might win 1-0.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it'll be a tight game. I think we need to go in there with a positive mindset, but also go with a bit of the philosophy that Ghana has gone with the previous 2 away games. And yeah, I think we'll be okay.
Okay, Warren?
I think this will be the hardest away game that we've had this season. I think they're riding a wave. I think they're fair play to them, because I think we all sat at the preview where we did a League 2 preview and we all said they'd be near the bottom. And I know it's only 11.
I'd just like to say I didn't.
Oh, okay. All right.
I did.
11 or 12 games in, yes, it's still very early doors, but they seem to have an identity of how they play football. I think Christian's point of what he said about the pitch, the fair play to them for adapting that quickly, I think that's a massive point. Yeah, and I think it will be the hardest game, the hardest away game that we've had up to date this season. And I know it's easy to say because we've won a lot away from home, but they're going to be that from when you watch a lot of their goals, it's very much set pieces, and whether we're going to be able to deal with that. Yeah, I think they'll be a very difficult team to beat, just because of the fact, like I said, they're riding a wave, and they've got there's no pressure on them, is there really? No one expects them to do anything, and we're going to go there with our away record, and everyone's just going to think, oh, we're going to turn these over. But there's no easy game, and I think it will be very difficult tomorrow night.
Okay, Kieran?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a difficult game. I don't think there are going to be any mugs, because you're sort of not in that league position where you are on that. But I think if they play football, we might do better against them. If they're not a shithousey, time-wasting Rochdale, Carlisle, shithouse cunts, we probably do better about it, because we can play our game. These teams that come in, we play against, they're time-wasting. I think that's where some of our away games have come into it. We haven't played many of those teams, I don't think, that sort of do that. And you don't tend to do that at home. You tend to go away and get a result from it. I think we'll concede a goal, and you can guarantee we will Randall that will score it. But I think we'll win tomorrow, because I think there's a lot of players that need to prove a point after Saturday, particularly your Paynes. I think Critchlow has to prove a point. I'd be interested to see the starting lineup tomorrow, because I think it could be a little bit harsh on Ward if he is dropped. But then Jojo's your number one. But Ward hasn't really done anything wrong in the last few games. But I think we'll win. It'll be interesting to see if we have got goals. I think it'll be sort of a 2-1 sort of normal away win, and with the goals all coming after the break.
And finally, Woody, what's your thoughts?
Kieran stole my thunder with the Will Randall comment. He will score against us tomorrow. The Sutton are the informed team at the moment. I was surprised that Ned didn't shout that out. In the last 15, they've got 12 points. The last 4 games, they've won all 4 of them. So I'm equally surprised at their league position. I thought the loss of revenue would really hinder them this year, but they've done really well. But so with that in mind, they've got a few goal scorers across their squad. We'll probably win 7-1, but it's I think we'll win it. We'll win, but they will score. It'll be 3-1, I reckon. I'm going to go 3-1.
Okay, so plenty of positivity in terms of the result, but across the panel, even if there's a much held belief that this will be a very tough game. Listen, gents, as always, absolute pleasure spending the last hour or so with you. Thank you to anyone watching and or listening. We very much appreciate the support as always. And if you would like to get involved, just drop us a message. Keep your eye out on our Facebook and Twitter for different announcements and stuff we're doing to celebrate 1 year of talking all things STFC. And until next time, good night.
Good night from him.
All right.